YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back, and the NFL draft is only a couple days away. I cannot wait. Getting pumped. And as you can see on the screen, we're going to be live throughout that first round of the NFL draft. Starting a little early, too, so you can join us early and throughout the NFL draft right here on YouTube. Live predictions, reactions, analysis from myself and some of the other guys here from the GOAT House. Cannot wait for that. Hopefully you can join us. And then there's our subscriber goal. It's at 20K. Sport's been awesome. There's our Twitter in the bottom right. Rest of the draft will be covered through there. And we have constant updates through there. If we have a last-second live stream or videos coming up, we'll let you know through there. And we're constantly talking about the NFL draft. Like button, notification button, much appreciated as well. But today's video is, I really enjoyed doing this one. Really enjoyed this one. I did this last year too. So basically I have first-round sleepers. We're hearing rumors. Not all these guys we heard rumors on. Some of these guys, it's just, maybe my feeling that they could go first round. So I got 13 of them, 13 sleepers, and I have 3 potential teams for each player. I want to make this clear, very clear. I don't think all these guys are going in the first round. I may think none of these guys are going in the first round. They're just potential first round sleepers, and I'm not 100% saying these players are going to go to one of these teams. Again, it's if they went to in the first round, it would be to one of these teams, in my opinion. I can list a bunch of teams, but I decided to go 3 for each player. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll get the hang of it. Let's start with Parris Campbell because he's on the thumbnail. Parris Campbell, electrifying receiver, can pretty much, people worry about his route tree, but you can see he has the speed and athleticism to pretty much run anywhere on the field and get open. And he's had great production. He's definitely a weapon, fits today's NFL. So I do like Parris Campbell. I feel a little more comfortable with him early second, but he's definitely a weapon. So 3 teams that would make sense if he did go first round. So obviously I can list more teams than this, and obviously there could be teams that could trade up, but just teams where they're sitting, and obviously a team could take him in the second round. That's not one of these teams. So these are the teams if he went first round. I know someone's going to get confused by it. Hopefully everyone understands. Seahawks, Ravens, Patriots. If Parris Campbell would go first round, I think one of those teams would take him. It's tough limiting to 3, but those are the teams. It's a Seahawks type receiver. They're only interested in the athletic ones, but maybe they like the more polished route runners. Doug Ball and Tyler Lockett. They're both top tier route runners. So maybe Campbell will be a little scared, but I think he's a Percy Harvin type guy too, so maybe they'll be interested in adding a guy like that. The Ravens are definitely looking for a receiver, but they need one that really fits the Lamar Jackson offense, and Campbell to me fits that. You can even hand him the ball if you wanted to, so I think the Ravens make a lot of sense. Maybe the Seahawks and the Ravens pick a little early for some of your liking out there, and the Patriots, who have the last pick in the first round, which makes a little more sense. They definitely like these types of weapons, but again, they may like more of the polished route runner too. So, the Ravens out of the 3 makes the most sense, but by where they pick, the Patriots makes the most sense. Again, I think my bet would be very, very early round 2, but it's a guy to look out for sure. I know he has a pretty good fan base. Some people think he definitely should be round 1. I don't have a problem with it. Let's move on to kind of going to go in position order, offense through defense. Tight end would be the next one here. And Irv Smith Jr., I have a second-round grade on him. I don't think he should go first, but he's a weapon. And, the need for tight end, and since there's a pretty clear top 3 tight ends, maybe Sternberger can be discussed up there next to those 3 as well, but somebody could reach for him. Looking at the Raiders, if somebody takes Noah Fant before the Raiders can get him with one of their later 2 picks, and that all requires Hawkinson to go as on time, as scheduled. If he gets pushed back, then Noah Fant should get pushed back for the Raiders, but it's probably the earliest team with one of their later 2 first-round picks for Irv Smith to be the Raiders. The Packers, if they pass on a tight end with their first pick and Noah Fant's off the board with their second first-round pick, which is 30 overall, Irv Smith can definitely be an option. And there's the Patriots again. We're going to see some of the similar teams here because a first-round sleeper wouldn't go in the top part of the first round. Hopefully that makes sense as well. But the Patriots definitely would be interested. They've shown interest. They lost Gronkowski, so they're looking for a tight end upgrade. Again, I like him in the second round. If I had to put money on it, it'd be second round for Irv Smith Jr., but some teams to look out for, and obviously there could be more teams than that if it's in the first round. So another guy to look out for there. Next player. We got a lot of offensive linemen. A lot of offensive linemen. It's a real good class. A lot of guys that are borderline, and a lot of teams that are really looking for O-line. They need that to get to the next level, the next step in the playoffs or maybe a Super Bowl. And Chris Lindstrom, his name is starting to heat up in terms of first round. And I'm back and forth. It really depends on how the first round plays out. When I was making my latest mock draft, I expected him to put him in there. But, the way some linemen fell down in the first round, I ended up having him early second, but definitely can be a first-round pick. I think he fits the Vikings. Really, he fits Kubiak's offense. They hired Gary Kubiak. He's definitely an outside zone type offensive lineman. That's a guy they can be looking at. They pick up at 18. Question, is that too early? The Packers, I think with their we talked about them. They pick at 30. I think they could be interested there. I think he fits, and they definitely are looking for offensive linemen. And the Rams are another team that lost Roger Saffold at guard, and they definitely can use a guy like Chris Lindstrom, and they pick 31. So those picks would make sense. The Vikings a little earlier than the other two teams, but I think a for sure fit there, but maybe more likely in the back end for a lot of these first-round sleepers. So Lindstrom's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. He could be one. We saw last year the Raiders took Colton Miller pretty darn early and surprised everybody. Maybe that's a guy like Chris Lindstrom. I actually have a little higher grade on Lindstrom than I did Colton Miller last year, even though they're two different offensive line positions. So that's interesting, though. Another offensive lineman, Greg Little. I have him all the way up by the Panthers, actually. The Panthers pick at pick 16. So that's, I guess, pretty early for a potential first-round team. So why is he up there? I've noticed that they've met with Greg Little 4 times. 4. Pretty unusual. You'll see 3 max usually. Does that mean the Panthers will take him 16? No. It could mean they're just not sure about him. They're doing their homework. What if he falls to us in the second? It could mean we can trade back from 16 and take him, which I think is actually very realistic now that I think about it. Or it could mean let's reach and take this guy, because we've seen it before. The Vikings, we just talked about them needing offensive line. They've had meetings with Greg Little. They've shown interest. And the Texans, where they pick, I don't know if that's too early for that. I'm more comfortable with him in the second round. He'll have his moments where, this is a first-round lock guy. Maybe even top 10, and then he'll have his moments where it's, he's on his backside on the ground, and you don't like to see that. So some of these teams could want more of the polished guy. Some of these teams will think they can definitely work with him and make him more consistent and look like one of those top-tier offensive tackles that they've seen in moments at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has a bunch of talent in this year's draft. Guys with high ceiling, not quite ready yet, and they weren't that good of a team either. So I don't know what's going on over there. So there's some teams interested in Greg Little. Let's move on to the next lineman. Eric McCoy, center/guard from A&M. Very good tape. Put up a battle with Quinnen Williams, who's my number 1 player in the draft. Again, I think he goes second round, but could sneak in the first. Could be a center or guard on any of these teams. The Eagles will be the highest. I think they're looking for a guard right now, but a center of the future, because Jason Kelce was very beat up. He's very near retirement because of it, but he's playing through injuries. But they definitely could use a left guard right now. So McCoy could be the guard, slide to center in the future. The Chiefs lost Mitch Morse. I think their sights are a little set on the corner position or safety or maybe even edge rusher, but it's a possibility. And the Rams let Sullivan go at his older age there, and they also could use a guard losing Saffold. So you can get a guard or a center out of McCoy here. Those are definitely 3 teams, pretty much 3 teams that need the same situation. More the Eagles and the Rams are a little similar, but teams that could be in the market for Eric McCoy if he indeed did go first round. Another offensive lineman, Caleb McGarry, he's getting some first round buzz. Again, I feel a little more comfortable early second. He's got experience at right tackle. Teams like him at guard. So we see some of the similar teams we already seen, but we throw the Chargers in there. The Chargers could use a right tackle. That's where McGarry played. They pick late first, and they have shown interest as well. Most of these teams up here, it's a need. They pick later, so it's okay, and they've shown interest by visits, some more than others. And then the Packers have visited with him too. He can play guard now, slide back to tackle in the future when they need him to. And the same applies to the Rams, really, but I view him more as a guard for the Rams. Because if he does play tackle, I view him as right tackle. They're pretty much set there. They're going to need a left tackle when Whitworth retires. So 3 teams to keep an eye out for there if Caleb McGarry from Washington goes in the first round. And we got one more offensive lineman, and Titus Howard, who's very recently got a lot of buzz about going first round. I like Titus Howard a lot. I viewed him as like one of my guys in the draft because I thought I was higher on him than pretty much everybody or maybe the teams after the Senior Bowl. But now he's getting some first round talk. I view him as very early second. The Texans have shown interest. They obviously need offensive line, and that'll be the earliest he goes. The Eagles also have shown interest. And you got the Packers back there. who I think with 2 picks out of the 2 first-round picks, I'm not guaranteeing they take a lineman, but they're usually smart about keeping the offensive line pretty, solid, especially with the depth. And, I don't know if they took a first rounder, I don't think he'd be depth, but they make sure they have the right talent there. And last year, it really wasn't there, though, because of injuries, and then Rodgers ended up getting hurt. So these 3 teams, definitely teams to keep an eye out for Titus Howard here, possibly sneaking in the first round. Let's talk about some defensive guys. LJ Collier, some view as an edge rusher, some view maybe as a D lineman. Could play either. The Titans pick all the way up at 19. I guess that would be a little reach, but they definitely can do it. Could be a Vrabel guy. I do like him at 3-4 end in that Titans defense, so definitely a possibility. The Seahawks definitely can use him. They need another edge rusher. So basically, if he goes to a 3-4 team, I think he'll be a 3-4 end. If he goes to a 4-3 team, it depends on the team. He can be a 4-3 end, which would be considered a pass rusher, or he can slide into a 3 technique defensive tackle. So Seahawks, I think he'd be more of an end, possibly losing Frank Clark, but he also can play opposite of him. I really like Collier. He's been growing on me the last couple months. He stops the run at a high level, and he had good pass rush, production, good pressure, and TCU used him in some weird ways there. So with the right team, I think he'll be nice at the next level. And the Chiefs, that's a weird one. They had their visits with them, but where would they want to put him? They're looking for the end guys, so I think they would put him on the end. But it's just really interesting because they're really picky at this point since they switched to 4-3. They want it seems like they want a for sure 4-3 end here. So Collier is kind of a tweener there. Is he a D tackle? Is he a 4-3 end and a 4-3? So they've shown interest. It's just a little weird because they've been very picky. They've been dumping guys that have been good. And a guy like Justin Houston, you like to believe he can play either. Went to another 4-3 team. So very interesting situation there, but they have shown interest. LJ Collier, to me, I'd say he probably will go second round, but it's a guy to be on the lookout for. I keep saying that for everybody, but that's what the video is. Jalen Ferguson, pass rusher, very productive. How many sacks did he have over his career? Well, he had the record in NCAA history, so very impressive there. The Texans and the Ravens and the Chiefs are the teams, because these teams met with him he has had plenty of meetings, but these teams met with him plenty of times. I believe the Texans and the Ravens 3 times each, so that is very interesting. The good thing about Ferguson is he can play 3-4 outside linebacker or 4-3 end. I prefer him. By his body type, it looks like, he'd probably be a 4-3 end, but, I think where he had the most success and the way he played, the way he actually plays on the field, I think I'm leaning towards 3-4 outside linebacker, which would fit the Texans and the Ravens over the Chiefs, but the Chiefs would like him at 4-3 end if they got him, and it wouldn't be a problem. I've seen Ferguson rush pretty much in an end position, seen him rush at most time at the out and have success at the outside linebacker position. Even seen him more of as an off the ball linebacker coming on a blitz. So very interesting player. We'll see I'm very curious to see which type of defense gets him and where they put him. But he's a solid player with some upside. Could be in the first round. It's just teams. There's some teams out there that value production more than the other teams. Everyone values production, but traits or productions, all it takes is one. All it takes is one team that is just blown away about how many sacks he got, and they just won't see. They don't see why he, the reason why he can't do it at the next level. And I understand that, but it's not always about production. But all it takes is one team. This one's a tough one because I got my money would probably be on second round, but I really could see the end of the first round. He's had more visits than maybe anybody. Talk about Titus Howard too. Maybe anybody in this process. What could that mean? Could mean multiple different things. Could mean teams are really, really interested in him. They're really interested in him. They need to get him. So maybe he's higher than what everyone thinks. It could mean not really sure. Where do we take this guy? Could this guy fall a little bit? And if he's there with our second round pick, is he a too good to pass guy? Let's take a look and let's interview him. Let's see how he looks when we work him out. Or he did have the off the field issue, which it should be no concern at all, but that could be why too. Because he wasn't at the combine, so that could be why too. Because it's a guy that maybe teams expected at the combine. I'm leaning towards that. It could be a guy that teams really expected at the combine, and all of a sudden this stupid off the field issue that really sounds like nothing came up the last second and they had to remove him. So they had to work out and see what kind of athleticism we're dealing with because, again, is he a 4-3 or a 3-4 guy? I'm leaning towards that. So most likely early second to me, but he has the production, like I said. Some defensive backs, quite a few of them here. And we got Lonnie Johnson Jr., who I view as a late second-round guy because he doesn't need to work on his tackling. He can be physical if he's in the right position to tackle, but angles and putting himself in the right position is the tricky part. But very, very good sized corner, very physical and press, can cover downfield, very long. Looked real good in one-on-ones in the Senior Bowl. And one-on-ones, the corner's almost never supposed to win, no matter how good you are. It's just totally one side of the receiver. So that was very impressive. He almost looks like he can play safety too, but I do like him at corner. I'm sure everyone would like him at corner. Some teams that shown interest in teams that he can fit: Seahawks, Chiefs, Patriots. Mainly the Chiefs because they just need a corner pretty badly, and they're in the end part of the first round. The Seahawks and the Patriots to me are their fits. That's their type of corner to me. And the Seahawks really haven't had that type in a couple of years. I mean, Sherman just left, but I think that'll be their type of guy, but maybe a little early. And the Patriots, they have other needs that maybe are bigger, but I guess at first glance. But then McCourty, who might have one more year and then he's retired. And then they end up being Gilmore and J.C. Jackson. J.C. Jackson was very impressive last year, but you're going to need more corners. So they could take one in the first. I'd say they won't, but they could. I'd say he goes second, but he has been getting a lot of buzz about first round. One of those guys have been getting a ton, actually, compared to some other guys on the list. Another corner, Rock Ya-Sin, he's been getting a lot of buzz, too. Teams like his physicality, his high motor. There's a lot to like about him. You look at him at the Senior Bowl, he always wanted to go against Deebo Samuel in one-on-ones. Why? Because Deebo Samuel was the best receiver there. You got to love that. And that could grow on some of these coaches. That really can grow, especially when you're getting to know these players. And the process is really long. The wait to the NFL draft, what these teams got to do. I know there's a lot to do, and there's a lot going on, but they have big teams. They have enough interaction with this player, so that will grow on you. So he definitely can go first. He's very good at press at the line, wrestling background, teams like that. So very solid career from Rock Ya-Sin and players or teams like him. Colts, Chargers, Chiefs, teams look out for. Chiefs, again, because they have a huge need at corner, and they pick in that sleeper part of the first round. The Colts, I can see the fit. They definitely could have interest in adding a more physical style corner. And the Chargers, they've shown some interest too. They need another guy outside, and they could definitely use another physical guy here. So, there's the three teams, but could be multiple teams. And I still have him in the second round, but I can totally see him being an early first round guy. And then we got two safeties to go to here. We got Juan Thornhill getting some talk finally. I talked about that even a month or two ago, that he could be a guy that could go in the first round. To me right now, the safeties could get pushed back just because there's no top tier guarantee safety. And then there's a good group of guys together, good depth, I should say, that teams we'll wait for that guy. So I'd say second round, but he has tons of talent, and he's very athletic. Yet, like I mentioned before, he could be a top 5 corner in this class if he was a corner, because he used to be. But he's a safety, and to me, he's my number 2 safety. I like him at strong safety. He can play box, though. Very athletic. Byron Jones comp. I'm not on board with a lot of comps, but I like that one a lot. Looking at the Seahawks, the Colts, the Chiefs, pretty much any of those teams. The Chiefs would like him. They do need a safety, but they also need a corner. I mean, he can help them with both of that, really. The Colts need a strong safety next to Malik Hooker. They tried to look elsewhere. I think they had interest in Landon Collins, but it was way too pricey. So Juan Thornhill could step up there, and Seahawks definitely could use another safety as well. So those are some teams to look out for. And then we have, kind of a wild card one here with Darnell Savage. Getting a little bit of talk. I think a second round, maybe even third round guy. So big range from him, late first to early third. Just super athletic. I think that's why a team would reach for him a little bit. Crazy athletic. He is good, has good moments on the field, and he was more of a free safety. I can see the switch to strong. Likes to help and run support a lot. Does whiff at times, but very high motor, very hard hitter, and solid tackler. He just needs to slow his roll a little bit sometimes. So back to the Seahawks, the Eagles, and the Colts. Like I mentioned, the Colts can use a strong safety next to Malik Hooker, but you may say Darnell Savage is a free safety. Well, like I said, I think he can make the move to strong, but not saying he has to. I think he can play free safety, but his athleticism, crazy athleticism, And, he does have some flashy moments, I should say. All that kind of makes him a potential first-round prospect here. So we'll see if any of these guys go in the first. There's a lot of them, but will really any of them go in the first? That's trying to think which guy has the best chance of going in the firsts. I'd say Chris Lindstrom. I'm kind of leaning towards Chris Lindstrom there from Boston College. Paris Campbell, maybe because of his big playability, him fitting today's NFL. So we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. I don't think I had this many of these guys last year, so that makes the draft very interesting. A lot of surprises, guys like this, and every year there's a reach. In our eyes, or from what the media told us, there's always gonna be a reach, and that it's a big reason why the NFL draft's so exciting. So can't wait for that. We got a few more videos to get to before the NFL draft and before our live stream during the NFL draft. Hopefully you can join us for that. Turn on notifications. You don't want to miss anything. Sometimes we got last-second things come up. Follow our Twitter. We have updates on a lot of that on there, and we're constantly talking on there about the draft. So that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.